Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling. You're in an English conversation, maybe it's going okay,
Hmm.
maybe even pretty well, and then bam, silence.
Oh, yeah,
Not like a comfortable silence, the awkward kind.
definitely.
Your mind just empties out. What do we say? Are they bored? Is my English failing me right now?
Yeah, that panic moment.
That feeling of the conversation just hitting a wall. I think, well, we've all been there, right?
Absolutely universal. That moment where the energy just kind of drains out and you're scrambling for the next thing and nothing comes. It's a huge source of anxiety well, for lots of people speaking English.
Totally. And I think for ages, many of us just figured, keeping a conversation going naturally, it's just talent. Either you've got it or you don't.
Right. Like some people are just born smooth talkers.
Exactly. But the
Mm.
sources we've been looking at, they paint a really different picture, a much more empowering one, I think.
They really do. The core idea, pulling it all together from these materials, is that keeping a conversation flowing isn't some kind of magic. It's not just a gift. It's actually a skill.
A learnable skill.
Precisely. A set of actual techniques you can learn, you can practice, and, actually get better at.
And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We've gone through these sources that are specifically looking at practical ways to, well, get past those awkward silences, keep the chat feeling natural, engaging.
Hmm.
We really want to pull out the most powerful methods they talk about, the things that can genuinely help you feel more confident instead of hesitant, like finding the building blocks for that natural flow.
And the sources, they seem to zero in on 4 key skills. Things that really address those crucial moments between speakers, where conversations either, take off or just fizzle out.
Okay, what are they?
It boils down to asking good follow-up questions, reacting in a natural way, active listening, really listening, and knowing how to change topics smoothly.
Got it. Follow-ups, reactions, listening, and topic changes. Okay, so let's forget the awkward pauses then. Let's dive into how these techniques, based on the sources, can help keep that conversational ball rolling.
Sounds good. Let's maybe start with what the sources seem to stress as, well, maybe the most fundamental one, the art of the follow-up question.
Ah, yes. I really liked how the sources talked about this. They had this great analogy, like a game of ping pong.
The ping pong game.
Right. Someone hits the ball over to you, and if you just catch it
Yeah.
and hold it,
Game over.
exactly, the game stops.
And it's just a perfect way to think about conversation, isn't it? A huge reason conversations die, according to these sources, is what they call the dead-end answer.
The dead end. Yeah.
Someone asks you something, you give a short, totally factual answer, maybe,
hmm
and then nothing. No opening for them to continue.
Like that classic example they use. Person A asks, "So what did you do over the weekend?" And person B just says, nothing much."
Right, full stop. Where do you go from nothing much?
Nowhere.
It's exactly like catching that ping pong ball and just, I don't know, sticking it in your pocket.
Yeah. But the sources show us how to, return that serve, how to keep the rally going. And the technique isn't just about giving a longer answer, is it?
No, not just length.
Yeah.
It's about adding a little something extra, some detail, some context, and then, crucially, hitting that ball right back, asking a question in return.
Right. So that example they improved. Person A, what did you do this weekend? Person B, it's pretty relaxed, actually. Mostly just caught up on some reading. How about you? Did you do anything interesting?
See, big difference.
Huge difference. B didn't just say reading, but caught up on some reading, a little more flavor, and then bang, straight back with, how about you?
It feels way less like an interview, doesn't it? More like a real exchange.
Definitely. The takeaway seems to be treat every answer as a chance to add a bit of yourself, and then always open the door back up for the other person. Ask them something related.
And what's interesting is how the sources point out that the asking back isn't just like a mechanical thing. It shows you actually care about their side too.
Yeah, that makes sense. It shows you value their input.
And, that flows really nicely into the second technique the sources were highlighting, using natural reactions, showing you're engaged.
Oh, this is a good one. Because it's not just silence that kills the mood, right?
Absolutely not.
The sources say giving a really flat, minimal response can be just as awkward as saying nothing at all.
Totally. Think about the example they used for this one. Person A says, "Hey, I'm learning to play the guitar."
Okay.
And person B just replies, "Okay."
Oof. Yeah, that feels chilly.
Right. Sounds like B couldn't care less. And it probably makes person A think twice about sharing anything else about their guitar playing.
For sure.
So the sources explain that natural conversations are packed with these little signals. Could be sounds, expressions, short phrases that basically tell the other person, hey, I'm listening, I'm processing, and yeah, that's interesting.
So instead of just, okay, you need something more, alive, the sources talk about reactions that aren't just noises, but actual words or little questions that invite more.
Exactly. Like the better version, person A. I am learning to play the guitar. Person B. Oh, wow, that's really cool. How long have you been doing that? Is it hard?
Yeah, much, much better. Oh, wow, that's cool. Shows real enthusiasm, like the sources suggest. And then immediate questions that come directly from what Ewell said.
And the sources list a bunch of these, right? Things like, that's amazing. Wow, no way, really. Oh, tell me more. Wow, I'd love to hear about that. Using these makes you sound genuinely responsive, not just, passively receiving information.
Right. Active, not passive. Okay, so that leads into the third skill, active listening.
Yes, active listening. And this is more than just, not interrupting. It's about really taking in what the other person said and building on it with your response, directly connecting.
The sources had a kind of funny bad example for this one too, didn't they? Where someone just completely misses the point.
Oh, yeah. Person A says something like, ugh, I had a terrible commute today. The traffic was just bumper to bumper for an hour.
Right. Sounds
And
wrong.
person B just goes, right. Hey, did you catch the game last night?
Whoa. Total non sequitur. Like, hello, did you even hear me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows B wasn't really engaging with the whole commute nightmare.
Yeah.
They were probably just waiting for a gap to talk about the game, or maybe just heard morning and jumped.
So active listening, as the sources define it here, means showing the other person, yep, I heard you, I got it, and here's my response to that specific thing.
Mm-hmm. And the good example they gave flowed much better. Person A, terrible commute, traffic jam for an hour. Person B, oh no, an hour. That sounds awful. What happened? Was there like an accident or something?
Okay, yeah. B, acknowledged the feeling, awful, repeated the key detail an hour, and then asked relevant questions. What happened? Accident.
Right. It demonstrates B was actually listening and is continuing the thread based on what A shared. And the sources argue this makes the other person feel genuinely heard, which is, well, fundamental for a comfortable conversation.
Okay, so that covers keeping the current topic going, strong follow-ups, reactions, active listening, super important for the moment-to-moment flow. But what about when a topic kind of naturally finishes, or you just want to, switch things up?
Ah, yes. That brings us neatly to the fourth technique from the sources, changing the topic smoothly. The idea is to transition gracefully, right? Avoid those really jarring shifts that just feel abrupt.
Like that other bad example, person A is talking about their garden, maybe. My tomatoes are finally getting ripe.
Yeah, something like that. And person B just jumps in with, ooh, blue is my favorite color.
Huh, where did that come from?
Totally out of left field. Leaves person A thinking, wait, how does blue connect to my tomatoes? It just doesn't feel natural.
No. So the sources say a smooth transition needs, like, a bridge, a verbal link between the old topic and the new one.
Exactly, a bridge. It helps the other person follow your thinking, even if you're changing tracks.
Okay, how does that look in practice? What was the good example?
So, person A, my tomatoes are finally ripening. Person B, oh, that's great news. Hope you enjoy them. Speaking things, ripening or coming together, it reminds me, did you hear about that new project launch at work?
Ah, I see the bridge. B acknowledged A, great news, added a quick relevant comment, enjoy them, and then used that phrase, speaking of things ripening or coming together, to link it, even loosely, to the new topic.
Right. It might sound a tiny bit formal when you just read it, maybe, but in actual speech, that connection makes the shift feel planned, not just random.
And the sources mentioned other phrases too, right? Like, speaking of, that reminds me, oh, by the way.
Yeah, or even just picking up on a small detail from the last topic to introduce the new one. They're like little signposts signaling the turn gracefully. Makes it feel less like a sudden lurch and more like a, gentle curve in the conversation road.
Wow, okay. So, looking back at all this from the sources, it really does seem like keeping a conversation flowing naturally in English isn't some big mystery. It breaks down into these specific learnable skills.
It really does. It's all about how you handle those little moments, those transitions between speakers.
It's not just about perfect grammar or knowing tons of words.
No, it's about mastering the interaction itself, asking those follow-up questions to keep things moving back and forth.
Reacting naturally with, actual enthusiasm to show you're tuned in and make the other person feel good about sharing.
Using active listening. So you're really building on what they just said, weaving that continuous thread.
And then being able to shift gears smoothly with those connecting phrases when it feels like time for something new.
Yeah, the sources really make a strong case that practicing these specific things makes conversations feel, well, not just less awkward, but actually more fun for everyone.
Takes the pressure off, maybe? Replaces that anxiety about what next
Yeah,
with a bit more confidence that you can connect.
exactly. And the material gives a really neat practical challenge for listeners, for you to actually try this stuff out.
Oh, yeah. What's the challenge?
It's pretty simple, actually. Designed to be low pressure.
Yeah.
The challenge is find someone for just a short conversation. Could be anyone, a friend, colleague, language partner.
Even just chatting while grabbing coffee.
Sure, anywhere. And during that chat, consciously try to use at least one of each of the four techniques.
Just one?
Just one to start, one follow-up question where you add detail and ask back, one natural, enthusiastic reaction, and one smooth topic change using some kind of bridge.
Okay, one of each. That sounds doable.
Yeah, the goal isn't perfection right away. It's not about forcing it unnaturally. It's just about becoming aware of those moments and giving it a try, making that conscious effort.
And then there's a final step, right? The sources mention reflecting afterward.
Crucial step.
Yeah.
Afterwards, take a moment and think. How did that feel? Did it seem to flow a bit better? Which technique felt easiest? Which one was maybe a bit trickier? What might you focus on next time?
Thinking about your own habits.
Yeah. Like, what part of keeping a conversation going feels like the biggest struggle for you right now? Which of these four tools feels like the best starting point for your practice?
Because the sources kind of give us the roadmap, but you have to actually, drive the car. And reflecting helps you adjust the route.
Well put. And, this whole deep dive, we've been really focused on keeping the conversation going once it's started.
Right. Managing the flow.
But the sources sort of hint at this related challenge, maybe even a better one for some people. If managing the flow is a skill you can learn.
Then what about just getting it started in the first place? That initial spark.
Exactly. These techniques are great once you're talking, but how do you even get to that point? Especially with, say, new people or in situations that feel a bit more formal or intimidating.
That's a really good point. If handling transitions is key to flow, what's the key to the start? How do you break the ice? Find that opening so you can use follow-up questions and smooth topic changes.
It's definitely a different challenge than just maintaining the flow, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it feels like it has to come first. It's sort of the prerequisite for needing these flow skills at all.
Absolutely. Definitely something to mull over as you practice keeping those conversations moving.
Keep practicing and keep exploring those chats.